What is going on, guys? DBG here. In this video, I'm going to be telling you guys how to make the best NBA 2K22 MyTEAM at any budget for launch. And this makes zero difference what the meta of the game is, because whatever way the game works, trust me, every year, like if you go back to 2K17, these tips will work. Like for the last, these tips have worked since the beginning of time for making your day one squads. The meta of the game changes as the year goes on. Trust me, it does. It really does. The meta becomes defined. But for your day one squad, and people are still learning the ins and outs, this is what you should be looking to do with your team. And I'm going to explain certain situations. It's not going to be like entirely specific players. I'm going to be talking about specific types of players. Later on, I'm probably going to go what I'm going to go with my team. What way I'm going to run, because I'm pre-ordering. I'm probably going to pre-order the... well, not probably gonna pre-order. I don't know whether 2K are gonna give me the 75th anniversary edition or whether it's gonna give me normal edition, so it all depends, which they do. And then obviously I'm gonna be pre-ordering it on my New Zealand account from my No Money Spent account. My squad's gonna be completely different on either of them. And I'm gonna be talking about the specific players that I plan on using in a video probably closer to launch. So, anyway. You can see right here for point guards. Obviously not a Chris Paul, not a Ja Morant. So you have choices with your point guards, and it all depends on your playstyle. The point guards and the center are positions where you legitimately have choices. You have options at those two positions. The two guards and power forward, you're pretty much set on what you have to do. So at the point guard position, you can go lockdown, you can go slasher, or you can go shooter. So if we're looking at day one NBA 2K21 MyTEAM, if you want to go slasher, you used Derrick Rose, 90 overall, or you used Gus Williams. You use one of these guys. These guys have plus 90 speed. Your slashers are normally your like 90 something plus speed, gold, quick first step point guards, that their job is to just run by weak defenses. The problem is that the slashers can be very easily stopped if the other team is like made properly. If, for example, you're playing against someone who's using Steph Curry, Devin Booker, I don't know, small forward Luka Doncic, because I assume he's gonna end up playing there. Luka Doncic a small forward, I don't know, someone a power forward, and Jokic at center. Or Trae Young a point guard, something like that. The slasher is the best option if you're facing that lineup, because they will run by everybody. They will run through your opponent's team and score. You are in, like, they are the most OP players. They're going to outrun the opposition, whether it be fast breaks, whether it be going to the basket, and they're going to be unguardable. The problem is if your opponent brings some sort of either a lockdown point guard or a lockdown wing, you might struggle, especially if you're not particularly good at the game. You're not going to be able to run through people like you are going to be if they're not running defenders. So that's like the slasher option. Players in the end, actual NBA players, the base set players, I don't see there being too many great slashers. There might be one or two in the token market. If you guys remember from last year, this guy existed. Bobby Jackson. He was like the budget version, because I think he had like gold or silver quick first step, but he was the budget version of this guy right here. Bobby Jackson can attack the basket quite well. And the thing is that most slashers have mid-range shots, thankfully. Very few of them have, what was I going to say? Three-pointers now. So then we've got the lockdowns. So the lockdowns, they're going to be your Drew Holidays, who's probably going to be an Emerald. They're going to be your Drew Holidays. They are going to be, this guy was a god last year. This guy really was that dude. Eric Bledsoe, because he had bronze clamps, he could shoot the ball a little bit, and he had silver clamps, could shoot the ball a little bit, and a bronze quick first step. So he was like a jack of all trades type player, but he was mainly there for defense. Drew Holidays could be good. And then obviously we got, like, the premium one was Mo Cheeks last year, because he actually had quick first steps. You could use him as a little bit of a slasher, as well as having gold clamps and 96 lateral quickness. So the benefit of running a defensive point guard is that you don't need to worry as much defensively in your two and your three. So what's highly unlikely is that someone runs two slashers, two guys with quick first step, or not even quick first step, two guys who will just burn you off the dribble. And some guys like a Steph Curry with quick first step's not going to the basket that much. It's unlikely And what ends up happening is that one of these three guys has to be a really good defender. And if it's your point guard, you can kind of get away with a mediocre defender at one of these two positions, and then a freaking traffic cone on defense at the other one. Because you can always get, like, at day one, you can get away with having a traffic cone somewhere. And that is the benefit of running with the slasher. The benefit of the shooter, which we all know, Trae Young's coming. Trae Young's Evo card is literally coming with the pre-order pack. So we know Trae Young is the shooter. And the thing with the shooter is that the shooters there is not going to be a shooter that plays defense. I'm telling you that right now, there is not going to be a shooter that plays defense. We don't know how to shoot early in the game. A lot of the times it takes a little bit to get into shooting. And this is what is going to take the highest level of skill day one to use. But the bonus of the shooter is that Trae Young's free. Trae Young's a starter card. That is the bonus of the shooter. So that is pretty much how you're meant to stick with the point guard position. I'm just going to use hypothetical situations, who I used last year on day one. I'm pretty sure I started last year with Eric Bledsoe. I'm pretty confident I actually started last year with Eric Bledsoe. And this is before, obviously, this is before I opened packs, but this is before the promo packs came out. And then, screw it, Bobby Jackson. Bobby Jackson, a defensive player, and everyone used Bobby Jackson to just run around everybody last year. Okay, so the two guard. Now, your two guard all depends on your point guard. For example, if you're running a defensive lockdown point guard or a shooting point guard and you want a slasher, I personally think this guy might, the starter, Donovan Mitchell, he's not going to be hard to get, even as a second starter. Might not be a bad option to throw in at the two. The starter, Donovan Mitchell, because he's going to be someone that is going to allow you to run by everybody. He's going to be someone that's going to allow you to run by everybody. Let's throw in Trae Young, because let's be real, I'm probably going to use Trae Young. He's going to run past everyone. He's going to be 6'1" and play at the two. You're going to be struggling mightily defensively with here. In terms of pure offensive firepower, you're not getting much better than running these two guys together. You're not going to get much better running these two guys. You got one shooter, one slasher, and it means that you're pretty much sorted. However, if you are running a slashing point guard, you can't really run a slashing two guard as well. That's just dumb. You got to run a shooting two guard. So if you're, again, like a slashing point guard in Bobby Jackson, this is where every year, I don't know who the player is going to be, but it was this dude last year. There's going to be somebody in either the Emerald token rewards or the Sapphire token rewards, or like an Emerald card that's going to be a sniper and have good defense. There will be at least one. Clay was that card last year. And forget about Ruby Clay. Ruby Clay was better. He was quite a bit better. But I mean, when you're starting off the game, that 5k or that 7 or 8 KMT for Ruby Clay is too much. Like, you're overspending if you're buying a Ruby Clay for 7 or 8 KMT when you can just use a free Clay. There's going to be someone in one of those cheap token rewards that's going to be good. And what you basically need is, again, if you're running a non-defensive player here, you got a defender. These guys are gold dust at the start of the game. 3 and D wings are gold dust. There are so few of them. And I don't even mean range extender. Like, Clay had range extender. Clay had silver range extender, silver clamps. This card here had bronze range extender, silver clamps. Like, these guys are gold dust. If you can fill out your team and you can get 4 of these guys in your team, if you can get 4 guys with clamps and range extender and they're cheap, you are sorted. The more important of the two badges, it all depends. You need at least one player in your 1, 2, or 3 with silver clamps. You need at least one player because they have to guard your other team's primary. Whoever your other team's running through, they've got to guard. But again, if you can find a Klay Thompson, Klay, even in his normal card, is probably going to have those badges. He's going to be huge. 3 and D guys are goldest. They are your friends. They are your friend. Like, you can very easily run, obviously Mitchell can't play to 1. 2 slashing point guards, 2 3 and D wings. Like, that's probably the most effective setup. Because then you've got your shooters. You've also got your person that's going to run to the basket. You are pretty much sorted. Small forward, it's the same as the 2 guard, really. Except, for example, a lot of people, like me as well, like I ran Allen Houston. I ran Allen Houston and Mitch Richmond, who couldn't guard a tree on defense. So I had to use defense as small forwards. Like, if you knew my team last year, I ran Richard Jefferson. I ran Richard Jefferson guarding primary ball handler. And I also ran off the bench. I ran, as soon as I could potentially get him, I ran Doug Christie. These guys guarded primary for me. So you need someone to guard primary, and these guys could hit a wide open shot. Were they the best shooters in the world? No. Neither of these guys were the best shooters in the world, but they could hit an open shot. If you can find a gold or silver clamps player with an 80+ three-pointer, they don't even need range. They don't even need range. They are the 3-and-D guys that are gold dust in the game. Like, you're going to want them in your team. Power forwards. Hit a wide open shot and run. Simple. Simple. Plus 75 speed, plus 75 three-pointer, and a bit of height. This guy, he didn't have the plus 75 three, but I mean, Jonathan Isaac worked perfectly last year. Early game, this guy ended up being a liability, but everyone had to use him early game because no one knew how to shoot. It was Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons gets the best dunk animations. But I think Ben Simmons is going to be an 81 overall Emerald. I don't see his speed being that high this year. I really don't think he's going to be great. For me, the ideal player to run is the pre-order Kevin Durant. Pre-order Kevin Durant for me is like the most ideal player to run. Like, I don't advise you to run the slow stretch big like the Dirk Nowitzki. That player at the power forward position gets eaten alive when you're playing against Kevin Durant. It gets eaten alive when you're playing against the Giannis. While Kevin Durant's not going to be really able to stick much defense on a Giannis, he's going to be able to be a lot better than Dirk. Like those 40 speed guys at power forward, you're going to get killed because you're going to run up against Giannis so often at the start of the game, especially if Giannis is only a Sapphire. And then off the bench, personally, you can run a Giannis. Like, I wouldn't run a Simmons because he's low, but 85 overall. If you have the MT and you want to run a freaking Giannis Antetokounmpo, you run a Giannis, because Giannis, again, if you come up against a guy, a lot of people are going to be running the freaking Dirk starting. Giannis is going to eat them alive. If you want to run Giannis your primary, do it. But if you're running a Giannis made lineup, like if you're running through Giannis Antetokounmpo, you got to have shooters in your three positions. So if you want to run with, say, Trae Young as your prime, as like a shooter, and also like a three hunter, if you want to run a Giannis as your primary ball handler, you can run Giannis. I'm pretty sure he only plays power forward this year though. You can run like Giannis and these guys, and then with shooting center, and you're sorted then. You've got your defenders, you got your 3-and-D guys, and like Giannis is going to run by most power forwards. But you do have to surround a Giannis with a shooter, because Giannis will not be able to shoot a lick. Also, you got to have backups, because if someone knows how to guard Giannis, you're kind of screwed. Centers. Centers. You take a drink. This is where you have your choice. Power forwards, really, you can't, like, most of the time you just want like a cone who plays some decent defense and will hit wide open shots. If you want to use like specifically a Giannis or a Simmons, you got to build your team around them. But then there's the centers. It all depends on your team. Early in the game, if you are running a three hunting team, if you are running a team of guys that you've got a point guard who your main aim is to shoot off pick and rolls, a two guard whose main aim is catch and shoot, three who's a catch and shoot player, you've got to get athletic dunking big man then. Screen setters. The athletic dunking big man is perfect for that lineup. I don't know who it's going to be, but in previous years, I actually had quite a bit of success using, was it Hassan Whiteside in that role when I tried last year? But you're gonna look for the speed stat basically. Centers that have a high speed and a high dunk. Actually, one place where you always find them are in domination rewards. You will always find those type of players in domination rewards. Trust me on that one. You're gonna find a lot of really good players in that kind of mold, because the likes of Nicholas Claxtons, the Daniel Gaffords of the world, they always end up in domination rewards. So that is a possibility. And that's what I would run if I'm running with a 3-hunter. I also, if you are running with a slashing team, if you have a Giannis, if your main tactic is to rim run with Donovan Mitchell, you gotta have a shooter. If you don't have a shooter, you're kind of screwed. Shooters, the Jokic works perfectly. The starter Jokic, he's gonna have at least a 75 3. His speed's not going to be so slow that he's going to be unusable. The guys that are going to have a 25, some guys are going to have 25 speed. And we all need to see how speed works as well. Like, if speed doesn't mean anything, then there's one specific guy that's going to eat everybody alive. Yeah, the three-point shooting centers like Nikola Jokic. If you're running a couple of slashers and your main thing is rim running, spacing the floor is so important, and Jokic is a perfect player for that. And then there are the interesting ones. I'm going to throw this guy on the end of the bench no matter what. Like, again, if I get 75th anniversary, I mean, I'm putting Kareem at the end of the bench. And these are the post scorers. These guys can be very effective if in the right hands, but very few people know how to use them. These are like, Blaze is really good with post scorers, but these guys can be game changers. If you know what you're doing with someone at a post scorer, they can be a game changer. Problem is, we don't know what post game is going to be like. So I would not recommend post scores to anyone who does not have a previous experience with a post scorer. I think you're gonna get a lot more success running with a fast center like dunks or a shooting center. But there is a asterisk for post scores. If we start off like day 1 2K20, then the stats don't matter. The post stats don't matter. Height trumps all. If you guys remember NBA 2K20, speed didn't mean anything. The taller you were, the faster you moved. So we had Mirasan, who was the fastest player in the game. And we have seen one thing from this screenshot right here. A 71 overall Yao Ming. A 71 overall low. I'm not sure if we have not seen a lower rated player in the game. Yao Ming. So there's going to be a Yao Ming in the game day 1. For all we know, like, again, I'm guessing in the base set, we're probably seeing a Mirasan. We're probably seeing a Sean Bradley. These guys are going to be low rated. Trust me. But if the game ends up being a case where speed doesn't really matter too much, 25 speed feels like 70 speed, or even if it's like Mirasan where 25 speed feels like 99 speed, where if they mess something up, because they seriously messed up speed this year, so you don't know what they're going to do with speed. There is potential that Giants are going to be the meta. And if Giants are the meta, you surround the Giants with shooters. If the meta is using Giants, you surround the Giants with shooters. Your defense does not matter. If Giants are the meta, your defense does not matter. Because what will end up happening is your opponent's going to run a Giant and you paint it. You hard off ball with your Giant, you paint it. Does not matter if people get blown by on the perimeter. You literally get your Giant and you get your 4 best shooters surrounding them. That is the only situation where I would say screw defense. Screw defensive stats is if Giants become the meta, like 2K20. Then you either let people buy you in your off ball or you 2-3 zone the whole game. So yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. That is how to build a perfect team in pretty much any circumstances with whatever really the meta is and whatever your playstyle is. So outside of Giants being the meta, really you want your you want your power forward always to be able to hold defense. You don't want to use a Dirk at power forward. There is no situation where using someone like a Dirk at power forward is beneficial. You want, normally in the game, small forwards that can play power forward, as in like long, lengthy, athletic guys that can dribble a little bit, shoot a little bit, move a little bit. Early game, those are the guys that excel at the power forward position. Center position, you really have your choice. If you got the Giants, you've got the post scorers, you've got the lob threats, and you've got the shooters. It all depends on what way you've set up your guards. Point guards, obviously slashers, you got shooters, and you got your defenders. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.